Hey everybody, Ryan Molly, and this is such a very cool guest this week. It's actually my neighbor, Dr. Kimberly Mascia. She's classically trained as an internal medicine doctor, but she now owns and operates Spago, which is a medical spa, and it's not just any medical spa. It's a really cool but down-to-earth but scientifically based medical spa here in Erie, Pennsylvania. You gotta want to stay tuned, hear her story. Great family, great background. She's a cancer survivor, and we just found out we are going to be vacationing together in, Sedona here for spring break of 2024. So super excited. Stick around the whole episode. Remember, at the end we have the Sawbones Challenge. So stay classy. See you soon.
All nurses to the nurses station.
All us country people are real close family. Lately, some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got this pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on it old family tradition. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey everybody, Dr. Ryan Molly here, and welcome to Hey Sawbones, my story, my passion. Again, I'm your host, orthopedic surgeon, cutter of bones, entrepreneur, business owner, and most importantly, loving husband, father of 3 very busy boys. And tonight, I'm quite excited about this guest. Been talking to her for probably the last month or so, trying to coordinate a date to get this on the books. And she, to date, has had to travel the least amount of distance to get here because she's one of my neighbors. And she's an amazing individual, loving wife, has multiple children. We're going to get here and learn more about the family, but she's also a physician. So this is, I think, our 4th physician that we've had on here. And at one point, we had more attorneys than physicians, but now the physicians kind of overtook the attorneys, thank goodness. All the love out there to all the attorneys. But without further ado, Dr. Kim Mascia.
Well, hello.
Welcome.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. So as we kind of went through a little bit before, our viewers, the most important thing that we want to get out of this first part is like, who's Kim Mascia? Who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah.
A little bit about your background, kind of your family, maybe some of your educational highlights. You know, where'd you go to high school, undergrad, med school, residency?
Yeah. So I grew up in Newport News, Virginia. If you don't know where that is, it's near Virginia Beach and Williamsburg. And just had a normal life, no physicians in my family, but my grandparents were heavily involved volunteering in the emergency room as they were retiring. And those were the days when you could actually stitch up somebody when you didn't have a medical degree or any, we just did not have that litigious, atmosphere that we do now in medicine. So they got to do a lot, and I got to see a lot there. Basically, always thought medicine was kind of cool from the beginning, but never thought I would actually do it. So I actually, went to high school with a year behind Mike Tomlin at Denby High School.
Oh my goodness!
And
he was a receiver, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, now the coach of Steelers, and yep. So A lot of my friends were friends with him. And then anyway, that's my claim to fame. That's it. Then I went to George.
Do you know him, like, personally?
No, I'm sure I've met him when I was in high school, but didn't know he was going to be
Let's
famous
get Mike
one day.
Tomlin on
So
the
it never,
podcast.
yeah, right? Oh, wouldn't that be great? I know. I have to ask some of my friends from school.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great what he did. I mean, I think he's just an incredible guy, but I didn't know him personally.
Sure.
Good friends with a lot of my friends, though, that were a year older than me in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really cool background. That is my claim to fame. And then I went to George Mason undergrad, and that's in Fairfax, Virginia. Did not.
How far from home?
About
that?
2.5 hours.
Okay.
So yeah, I would commute, and just then stay there. That was next to DC, so that's a fun place to be anyway. So I got to see a lot of things, and basically, I didn't know. I probably went into psychology or something, and then changed to undecided.
Wait, you don't even know your undergrad major?
No. I think I started as like psychology. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally open.
Just
undecided. Started taking some science courses later on. I'm like, this is really cool stuff. And I just loved science. And I didn't choose pre-med until my junior year.
Wow.
And then I had some work to do.
You and I both. I was very late to the medicine world.
Yeah. You were too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to go to chiropractic school, but
yeah. It's a little pathway. It doesn't have to be a straight pathway. And mine
very few
definitely
times
wasn't
is
either.
it, right?
No,
It
yeah.
meanders, and there's curveballs thrown your way. There's forks in the road. Sometimes you go down the fork, you realize that's not where I want to go, and you come back. Or
absolutely. Oh yeah, I was on the 4.5-year plan undergrad, and when I decided, and then I researched for 1.5 years at NIH.
Okay.
After that,
wow.
and so and then had applied to medical school, and then went to UVA in Charlottesville and did my residency there too. And I did internal medicine.
I almost did my fellowship at UVA.
Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah.
That was my second choice. Yep.
Yeah. UVA's, it was a neat area. And that's where I met my future husband. He was a pathology resident there. So, we, liked Erie. He liked the practice here, and that's what brought us to Erie. And I think it's an amazing community.
Where is Brett from?
He's from Rochester, New York.
I knew that. Yeah. Because one of my best friends, who is also a physician down at Virginia Tech, is from Rochester.
Okay.
Yeah. He went to Irondequoit High School. What about Brett?
Yeah. He was at Chili.
Okay.
I think, one of those, I think West Chili.
Does he say
something like that?
Rochester? Like, I feel like a lot of people there say Rochester.
No, he doesn't. He just calls it Rochester.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Maybe I should listen more closely, but
Have
it doesn't
you heard
sound
people
funny
say
to
it
me.
that way?
Yes,
Okay.
I have. Yeah. Like almost like the Worcester, Massachusetts. But yeah, he doesn't. It doesn't stand out to me as something different when he says it. But
So when did you guys meet? Like what year?
I was a 4th-year medical student. He was a 1st-year pathology resident, and so we met
Please
there.
tell me you weren't doing a pathology rotation.
Well, I had.
Really?
And there's a long, circuitous story behind this, but yes.
Okay.
And but we published a paper about malaria together, and that's long and short how we ended up dating eventually.
That's a love story right there. The malaria marriage.
Yes. Yeah.
Well.
So yeah, we had a malaria patient, and they were teeming with malaria. Parasite, they call it a parasitemia, that we could actually see on their CBC. It's a scatter plot printout, and so you could actually see the load of the
Did this
parasite.
get published?
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that like hanging in your house somewhere?
No,
with your,
it probably should be.
because your maiden name would have
Maybe
been on
we
there, right?
should.
That's
No,
a cool
yes,
thing.
my maiden name's on there. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
But that was med school, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how did you determine that you wanted to go into internal medicine?
Yeah, I mean, that was something I actually was on the interview trail for dermatology and had already written a dermatology just help book for residents by that time. Then at that point in time, we were engaged, I think, to be married, but he was going to stay in Charlottesville. So I had to make a decision. Okay, I want to stay in Charlottesville. The places that I was looking for dermatology were outside of Charlottesville. And basically, I asked the program director at UVA if I could stay there and just do internal medicine. And I stopped interviewing for dermatology and did an internal medicine residency, which was my second choice anyway.
Sure.
And I knew already that in practice you could practice dermatology as a general practitioner.
Sure. Yeah.
So even when I moved to Erie and eventually was in a private practice, I brought procedures there.
Okay.
And
So
just
you're always kind of interested in that.
always did it. Always did
Because
it.
I know where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. And
which-
you'd think it would be a leap, but it's, yeah.
Well, I mean, now that I hear that background with dermatology, it seems
Yeah.
like a very natural transition.
Well, it was always something that I actually just enjoyed, and even the dermatologic aspect, just simply because the diagnostic skills that these people gain from just visual observation, which I'm a very visual person. I'm very much into art, that type of thing. So it was a natural segue for me. But this is a little bit of a different course, and I had, really practiced internal medicine for the most part during my time in Erie, and then with about my cancer diagnosis and family members with cancer and things like that. And full circle, I had to decide, you start reevaluating your life. And it came back to, hey, what makes me happy?
Yeah.
And one of them, which might, I think you and I have a lot in common with each other, is that, one thing that makes me really happy is not working for someone else.
Yeah. Autonomy.
And so I'm
one,
always
folks.
looking to you.
Autonomy.
We've had so much education. When someone tells you how to do something and it's not, it's not the right way, and you are powerless to say something.
Yeah.
You have to make a decision. And I personally, I'm always watching you from afar and just enjoy seeing your business thrive. And you did it all yourself. And you've kind of broken away from that hospital institution with people telling you what to do. Now, as a doctor, best how to run your OR.
Yeah.
And so I'm anxious to hear a little bit more about you and how that's all set up and how you're able to do that. But I hope that this starts a new wave of physicians becoming more independent and really regaining that autonomy that we've completely lost with the way medicine's become.
Kim Mascia,
Right?
I mean, we need to collaborate more, because that is honestly one of my big passions in life,
Yeah.
Aside from doing orthopedic surgery and hosting podcasts. But my philosophy is like, well, we're doing one podcast. Why shouldn't we start a second? So getting ready, little sneak peek, teaser, not telling you the name just yet, but we will be starting kind of like a truly medically oriented podcast for other physicians that are looking or really exploring that autonomy of private practice. Excellent. Because that pendulum has swung so far to one side. But just stay tuned. We'll give you some more on that.
That's fantastic. Later. And I think there's hope because I see people like you doing this.
I mean, it's not easy.
No.
You know this. And by the way, Kim, and we're going to get into this with the personal questions. I love giving plugs out there to local businesses, especially people that I know personally. And Kim is the owner, I'm assuming CEO, president of Spago, which is a medical spa, probably half a mile to a mile down the road from our subdivision here in Erie, Pennsylvania. My wife has been a patient of yours for probably...
I can't say that. You can say it, but
I
that's a
can.
HIPAA violation.
Yeah, and she would say that too, right? But you do amazing work, and we're going to get into some of that with the questions. So at this point, are you thirsty?
Why not?
More like wine, not.
Why
right?
not?
So the funny thing is, I asked Kim, all my guests, I asked them, hey, what's your favorite drink? Where's some sneakers that are meaningful to you? And she goes, favorite drink, lemon drops. I'm like, and this is all through text message. And I'm like, that's a shot. I'm like, Kim,
no, you can have them as a drink.
Yeah, just a real tiny one you just sip on. I'm like picturing like just doing shots on the podcast. And I'm like, do you like wine?
Although that's a smart idea to start out a podcast, but it might go astray.
Yeah, well, maybe we should start that before we start filming, kind of like ease the tension a little. So tonight, I'm excited about this wine. This is the first bottle that I've actually had personally here, and I ordered this online. So it's called Clio. This is a Spanish wine.
Oh, neat.
I had this back in 2020 when I first started going to Edgewood Surgical Hospital. We had a wine club dinner with myself, my business partners, Kirk Gramley, Kevin Gramley, and Ron Prezant. Ron Prezant is an anesthesia doctor. So each of us brought a wine, and they gave me all the wines ahead of time. And then I had, Tammy Lynn Fox,
Yes.
locally,
Yes.
Global Kitchens.
Absolutely. She's great.
I gave her the wine list. She paired food with that. And then
Nice.
I had each of us write up a description of each wine, a couple paragraphs like about the vineyard, but then also about this particular, blend.
Yeah.
So this is Clio. It's a Spanish wine. Technically, I don't even know. It's not like a Tempranillo or anything like that, but I'll tell you what it is. It's really good.
All right. I'm anxious to try it.
Okay.
Great. Oh, look at you. You've got the whole setup here, Ryan. This is amazing.
I'm not a rookie here. Kim.
This is... Please tell me you did not build this, though.
Yes, I
you build that?
whittled this out of one piece of wood. No, I didn't build that. That I actually ordered.
That's a sneak little table there.
So.
An Erie, PA glasses.
Yeah, you got to support, right? So there's a lot of haters out there with Erie, and it's like,
I love Erie.
if you're gonna live someplace, you might as well embrace it and enjoy it, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Give this a try.
And
Absolutely. Well, and Erie's got a lot to offer, and I appreciate the little bubble we live in right now with everything else that's going on elsewhere.
oh, absolutely.
You've got to appreciate it. That's a beautiful bottle, too. So cheers.
Cheers.
This is great.
Salud. Okay, so
That's nice.
yeah, I think it'll get better.
That's
too.
tasty.
Right, it'll open
That
up a little
is
bit. It's a
tasty.
2020, so
Love it.
little young. I think a little bit of air in there over the next hour it'll improve.
I think it's fantastic.
So as the podcast goes,
Yeah.
6 questions. I asked my guests to ask me 3 business questions first, then 3 personal.
Okay.
Then we'll turn the tables. I'll ask you 3 business, then 3 personal. I always have to say this, but you have the opportunity to veto one question if you don't feel comfortable answering
that's
it.
funny. Okay.
But you would be the first ever. So
Okay, that's good to know as
no
well.
pressure, Kim. So fire away, business.
Yeah, well, a good segue into what we were already talking about is what inspired you to start Whole Health, it's Whole Joint,
Whole Health Orthopedic Institute.
Institute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that, the whole thing.
Yeah. So this may be a little redundant for some people out there that have heard previous episodes, but that's okay because you haven't maybe heard this. So Whole Health was in 2013. My best friend, Jared Oakes, he's a real estate attorney in Cleveland, Ohio. We grew up together, went to undergrad together, high school together, taught Sunday school together, went to undergrad at Mercyhurst together. He ended up going to, he's a year ahead of me, ended up going to law school at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland, ended up meeting a girl from Michigan who lived, right in the same house as he did.
Oh my goodness.
And they got married, and then they decided to stay in Cleveland. So, and I was in Michigan at that time, married a girl from Michigan, but
Yes.
my practice for the first 4.5, 5 years was in Michigan. And we were at that point where we're both kind of like 4 or 5 years into our career, and we're kind of reflecting after a pretty long, arduous education, right?
Yeah.
Undergrad, med school, residency, all that. And for him, kind of the same thing, law school, and then being a young junior attorney and kind of working his way up.
Right.
But we get to this point in our careers where we're like, there's got to be more to this, right? And I feel like I can offer more than just putting metal and plastic into people. So, and we were talking about chronic disease. We were talking about the pandemic of, or the epidemic of obesity, diabetes, malnutrition, all these things.
Yes.
And how important for like future generations, our children, our children's children, to try to teach them better ways to live. So we created, it was Whole Health Communities.
Wow.
And it was a massive, massive project. We were going to base our first project out of Michigan, Metro Detroit. We looked at between 50 and 60 sites in Michigan, land that were somewhere between 300 and 500 acres.
Oh my goodness.
And we were going to develop a wellness community. There was going to be a medical component that I would kind of been in charge of, called Complete Care. I would have had an orthopedic practice there.
Right.
We would have had a surgery center there, but we had like a little downtown area. We had a little, not necessarily like an elementary school, but like preschool, stuff like that to develop just kind of like basic good habits, very young age.
Yeah.
Farm to table. The final plot that we settled on was right next to a metro park. So it had a lot of activity, a huge trail that went all the way around the lake. And there was a canal district where we had brownstone apartments that had, we pictured attorneys' offices, accountants, maybe a bakery. It had a very European feel with like cobblestone pathways and just more natural. And a year later, and we put a whole business, this was a $292 million endeavor. And obviously we weren't going to be able to fund it.
Yeah.
So it was a great exercise because we put a business plan together.
Yeah,
we went to angel investors, venture capitalists, and other companies that we thought would be interested. And there was a tremendous amount of interest, but we were young, unproven, and literally like a year later, Jared got a new job at a new law firm, and I moved to Erie, Pennsylvania to practice in Meadville. So it kind of got put on the back burner. And then after a couple of years in Meadville at the original practice that I was an employee of, I wasn't hospital employed, but I was, it was a private practice. I was like, I got to do my own thing. So kind of broke away. And I said to Jared, would you mind if I use the name Whole Health? Because it fits very much in like the mantra of what I'm trying to create. Yeah. Which is like a complete package. It's not just come to me with your bad hip or bad knee and I cut you up and put metal and plastic in. It really focuses on perioperative optimization, pre-op optimization, making sure that we can help people. Not just saying you're overweight, you're diabetic, you smoke, you're malnourished, fix all those things and come back and then I'll operate on you. Yeah. I wanted to be like the one-stop shop where we could help support that.
Perfect.
Through
That's
like,
great.
you know, dietary things. So that's really what inspired Whole Health.
That's great. And that you were talking about the perioperative too. And I hear different things because now I've seen a lot of people that you've treated and they love you. And I've heard different post-operative programs that you've taken your patients through. And I was just kind of very interested in, if what I heard was always the same for each person or what you typically do for somebody.
It's pretty similar. I would say 90-95% of the time our protocols post-operatively are the same, and it requires a lot of rest. And it's soft tissue rest because quite honestly, when we do joint replacements, the reason that they have so much pain before surgery is because they're rubbing bone on bone. Tons of nerve endings. When we finish, there's no more bone rubbing on bone. The implants are well fixed to the bone, so there's no pain there. And metal's rubbing on plastic or ceramic, so there's no pain there. So any pain after a joint replacement is 100% soft tissue related, all surgically induced trauma. And you wouldn't do any type of like, I use the analogy of breaking your arm or getting a big gash in your leg and like trying to manipulate that right away. You got to let it cool down. Absolutely. Let the soft tissues kind of subside that initial inflammatory cascade or response and allow the tissues to really just kind of calm down before you do too much. Now, we aren't doing nothing. They're moving their knee and they're getting up and walking every couple hours, but 80% of the time they're flat on the back with their backs with their feet above their heart to help to control swelling. Swelling is our enemy.
That's true.
So if we can control swelling and control the inflammatory cascade, these people have significantly less pain. Their range of motion improves so much more rapidly. We prevent blood clots because we're actually elevating their feet above their hearts. And I've done it both ways. So I truly have the ability to kind of look at how we would have done what's called rapid recovery, like get up, get moving, go to work.
Yeah, that's the traditional that you hear about.
And people are still doing it for whatever reason, right? Because it's just what they were taught. But this is very different. And I can tell you it works. Yeah. Patients don't necessarily love living on their back for the first 3 weeks, but I always joke with them. I said, no one's going to pass away from living on their back for 3 weeks. Get some good books, get some good movies. Rest during this period. Weeks 3 to 6, we'll advance your activities a little bit more. We'll cut the time on your back in half, get you into outpatient therapy if you're a knee, move you to phase 2 of the home exercise protocol. And by week 6, if they follow the protocol, there's no restrictions. They go do whatever the heck they want to do.
That's great. And how have you seen this improve your outcomes as opposed to the traditional way when you hear people just get up and go? And
so originally when these people were coming in, I mean, their knees were red, hot, swollen, inflamed, tight, painful. they were just miserable patients. And
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
kind of
I've seen it.
assumed that's a total knee.
Yeah.
Right. So you just kind
Yeah.
of say, well, sorry, this is what you signed up for.
Yeah, they'll get aggressive PT the first day
Oh yeah.
post-op.
It's like ripping a scab off every time they go.
Yeah, and
right?
it's very painful.
Or punching a bruise. So
Yeah.
now when I see them come in at 3 weeks, they're not 100% by any means,
Right,
but they are
right.
so much less painful, less swollen, so much less red.
Mm-hmm.
In duration is significantly less. Their range of motion is substantially improved, and they're just happier, generalized happier
Okay.
patients.
Yeah. So basically, at that 3-week point, you're going to see a big difference between those two.
It is.
People.
To me, it's actually more rapid
Yeah.
than the
yeah.
rapid
well, that's
recovery.
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just-
Absolutely.
It doesn't. It doesn't sound like it will be to people when they're like, I have to lay down. My
Yeah.
so-and-so got up and got moving right away. I'm like,
Right.
yeah. And they also had their incision split open and
Yeah.
had to go back to the OR. And then they got stiff because they were doing too much too soon
Right.
and kind of pissing the wound off, right?
Yeah.
And the scar tissue.
And you're probably getting them walking frequently enough that you're not seeing an increase in blood clots. doing what you're doing either.
They're getting up and walking every couple
great.
hours for 15 to 20 minutes. They're using ambulatory SCDs. They're using calf pumps, compression socks. The elevation, in my opinion, is the most important thing
Yeah.
above the heart because you're using gravity. And then simple chemoprophylaxis with a baby aspirin twice a day.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I was very curious about that. Yeah, I had some other questions for you too. I'm just trying to think of what they were.
You get one more business and
get
3 more
one
personal.
business.
Not that I'm keeping track or anything.
Okay, I know. I'm just thinking. You just opened up a satellite location in Yorktown Plaza, right?
Not Yorktown, but in Erie.
Somewhere in Erie.
Yeah, so it's off of West 12th and Marshall.
And Marshall. Okay.
You know where that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the last road that goes through. I guess Powell turns into it.
Okay.
If you follow
Yeah,
it down
yeah.
through the airport there. Yeah, it's. I mean, we opened it in December, and we've like already outgrown it.
Oh my goodness. What do you do there?
So I don't do anything there. I've never seen a patient there. Really? No. I think we have 5 exam rooms there, so it's a lot smaller. But so we have a full-time orthopedic PA, Julia Casio.
Right.
She's from Corey, Pennsylvania. Give Julia a shout out. She was at Hammett for a decade doing orthopedics, so she's not new to
Great.
orthopedics at all. And then we have Dr. Sion is based out of there. He does a couple days a week there, and then Dr. Daniel Milam is there. So they both are. Dan is Dr. Milam is a sports med doc, so he does a lot of arthroscopic work of the knee, of the shoulder. He does do total knee replacements. Does a lot of arthroscopic rotator cuff repairs. Dr. Sion is kind of our shoulder replacement expert, but he also does a lot of shoulder arthroscopy, rotator cuff repairs, bicep tendon repairs.
Wow.
They both do like hand surgery as well.
Nice.
So
And they're operating in Erie.
no, they actually operate. We all operate and do 100% of our cases down at Edgewood Surgical Hospital, which is one of the biggest blessings that I've ever had in my life. It's halfway between Greenville and Sharon, and it is purely an orthopedic hospital with a little sprinkle of eyes, so a little ophthalmology.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So personal
So
stuff.
what next? Personal stuff. I get to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do we want to know about Ryan that hasn't been on a prior podcast? I don't even know how many siblings you have.
So I have 3 older sisters. Allison, she is, probably early 50s, maybe 52-ish. She works at Allegheny College. She originally went to Fredonia for undergrad, was a music, like vocal performance pianist, and right out of college went to Nashville to try to make it big in the country music industry. Amazingly talented with her musical abilities. She was down there for about 1.5 years or so, then came back, got married, started raising her 2 children. She was the choir director, organist at St. Titus Church in Titusville for, probably 15 to 20 years. And then taught private piano and voice lessons. Up to this date, she still does that. Very limited now, though. It's like her existing clients. She's not taking any new any new students on. but that's kind of her passion. She now works at Allegheny College. I think she's in the admissions department.
That's great.
Her husband, Jeff, just recently retired. He did tool and die. Lydia, her older daughter's at Allegheny, a sophomore there. And then their son, Luke, just graduated from the Marine Corps. He's my godson, so I'm super proud of him.
Goodness.
Shannon, middle sister, she is, I believe, 50 this year. And she went to Clarion University in elementary education major. Met her husband, Chris Plosky, in high school. They have been high school sweethearts, got married, I think, while in college. And they have, Chris actually works with me. So he is my Medacta rep. So Medacta is the orthopedic company that I use for my implants.
Okay.
It's a Swiss-based company, but huge shout out to Chris. I mean, he is by far and away one of the best reps I've ever had. Goes above and beyond to do the little things like mopping. Like today he was mopping the floor. I'm like, it's not part of his job description, but he's
helping the team.
Yeah, exactly. Like you gotta, there's no job too small for any of us, myself included. Right. Shannon is now an elementary teacher. I think she's a reading specialist at Maplewood, which is where we all went to elementary and high school.
Okay.
They live right in Townville, kind of where we grew up as kids. They have 3 great kids. Jenna's the oldest. She went to Fredonia, where my oldest sister went. She is a musical therapist down in the, she's in Virginia, actually, close to Washington, D.C. Okay. Actually, where did you go to undergrad?
George Mason.
Which is in what city?
Fairfax.
Okay. I think it's right by there. It's all pretty close.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My nephew, their middle child, Joel, he is just starting law school in Washington, D.C.
Goodness.
At American University. And he's wicked smart. He did undergrad, pre-law in like 2.5, 3 years while working like 2 full-time jobs. By the way, he was at the Chautauqua Institute managing stuff there for like through the summers. And his first year was the COVID year. And he did that while he was at our lake house, which we no longer have, which you no longer have your lake house either. Yes. But he stayed upstairs from our that garage, like the barn.
That's so nice. Yeah.
And then their youngest is Jordan. She is a sophomore now at Pitt. She is a pharmacy, going into their pharmacy program. She's also wicked smart. She's my goddaughter. So, you know, she holds a very special place in my heart. And our boys, they love all their, cousins. But like Jordan and Anthony have like a special relationship. And then my youngest sister, who's still older than me, Kristen, she was, how old is she? So she's 2.5 years older than me. So she's like 47. And her husband, Justin, is an engineer up here in Erie. I'm not sure what company he's with now, but she is a phys ed teacher down in Meadville at Calvary Christian, I believe. It used to be Calvary Baptist. 5 kids. Nathan's the oldest. He is 2 years out from high school, started at Grove City, had some career changes, but really wants to become like a lineman, like an electrical lineman. Honestly, one of the greatest kids I've ever met. He's such a nice young gentleman. He's considering maybe going to the Air Force. His cousin Luke, who they're the same age, graduated together, played high school basketball against each other. It was fun. Great. And they're tall too. They're like 6'5", 6'6", much taller than me. Then Natalie is their second. She is a junior at Calvary, plays volleyball. Anna, she is a freshman at Calvary, plays volleyball. My sister's the volleyball coach.
Oh my gosh.
My sister she was a very good athlete. She played basketball and volleyball in high school and then played college basketball at Mercyhurst here. And we overlapped 1 year, my freshman year and her senior year. And then they have 2 young boys, which is great for our boys, Andrew and Nicholas. And Andrew, I believe, I want to say he's 10 or 11. And then Nicholas, I think, he's got to be like 7. Yeah, he's 7. And they're wild and crazy, just like our boys.
That's great. Now, are your parents still in Meadville?
Parents still live in the house that, they built and that we all grew up in. And my 3 sisters live, very, very close, all within maybe 10 to 15 minutes top from my parents. So they're very much involved. My mom just texted me earlier today. She's like, hey, what's Anthony's schedule like for flag football this weekend? We'd like to get up. And so 13 grandkids in all. They're loving life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you go into medicine?
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody is like teachers in my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my dad was a teacher in Meadville at the junior high, taught math and computers for 32 years. My three older sisters are teachers to some capacity.
Yeah.
Multiple aunts that were teachers, lots of family friends that were teachers, my wife, teacher,
Yeah.
you know, so it's just like education is really like the core of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think and say that I'm a teacher that also happens to do hip and knee replacements.
That's great.
But my influence was really medically. There was no one other than my cousin, Jeff Leary, who was a chiropractor and an athletic trainer in Meadville. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I always loved the musculoskeletal system.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, my sister and I were out in the woods and we found this skeleton. To this day, I don't know what animal it was, right? We called it the red fox. It definitely wasn't a fox, but I collected all these bones. I brought them back to the house. I'm not Jeffrey Dahmer. All right. the bone, it was all, the soft tissue was already gone. Yeah. And I came back and I put the skeleton together almost like a dinosaur exhibit at, at the Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh. And I mean, I put wires in it so it could actually stand up. And it was like a school project that I did. So I remember like our encyclopedias, which I now have in my office at my work, like looking at the human anatomy and just like love the musculoskeletal system. I remember learning the muscles when I was very, very young. So my undergrad was sports med, pre-med with the idea of going to chiropractic school, and then paths changed. You know Greg Coppola?
Yes, I do.
So Greg Coppola is and by the way, I got to get him in this seat.
Yes, you do.
He told me, kind of like you did, like
he needs
maybe
to
in
make
September.
The time.
Yeah.
He needs to make the time.
But
Greg, you need to come out here.
Greg, we're calling you out. Kim's calling you out. I'm calling you out. Karen, the boys are calling you out. But he is the reason that I'm actually a physician, because my path was set on chiropractics. Our paths crossed when he wasn't even in Erie. I didn't even know at that time he was coming to Erie. He was at Michigan State as a fellow.
Funny. That's amazing.
Paths crossed. That day it was like, why would you want to go to chiropractic school versus osteopathic school? I said, I don't even know what osteopathic medical school is.
Yeah.
He explained it. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. Had a primary focus on the musculoskeletal system. And lo and behold, that's what I did.
That's really interesting.
So,
that's great. And Greg's fantastic. He should come out here.
He will.
Is he too busy
we'll
biking?
Get him out here. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got a very interesting practice as well.
He does.
Oh, yeah.
And I love his story too, because he's gone from the employed model.
Yes, he did.
And he's now out on his own.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very busy.
Very
busy. So I don't think physicians should be ever afraid to go on their own.
It's that initial leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
And it does take. It's not for everybody, right? You know that, I know that,
right.
But there's a lot more good guys and girls out there that are in medicine that could be doing this and be a lot happier than they are right now.
Absolutely.
Take the handcuffs off, folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's 2 personal questions,
right?
right?
2?
You got one more.
Oh my goodness. All right. Karen's a teacher. How did you meet Karen?
Match.com.
How did that happen?
So I'm an intern, which is, for those that don't know, that's your first year of like your residency. So
how old were you when you were an intern?
Traditional. So I didn't take any time off. So what, 26-ish probably?
Yep.
And I moved to Michigan, and I wasn't dating anybody at the time. And, it was kind of like, I knew how busy I was, and I was very, very firmly committed to like orthopedics, because orthopedics is very hard to get into. And I was late to the ball game to try to get into medicine, and I was late to the ball game trying to get into orthopedics. So I really needed to do well.
You did, yeah.
Because I came in and my program director, I joked to this day, we had 2 residents per year. Mm-hmm. He called me the workhorse, and he called my co-resident the show horse, because the show horse was way smarter than me, at least on paper. Right. Yeah. Over time, I mean, and this is nothing against my co-resident, because he's wicked smart. But it was kind of like my goal to show him that I wasn't just the workhorse, right? And I worked my butt off. So I was a big workhorse, but I also had some brains between my ears too. But so I didn't have a lot of time to go out and socialize, and
Certainly not. Yeah.
I was beyond the point of like going, like I was like, where am I going to meet somebody? Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to date somebody in the hospital. I never had any interest in that.
Right.
And I wasn't going to go out to the bars. So good buddy of mine, Patrick Fitzpatrick, tell me that's not an Irish name. Redheaded, ear, nose, and throat intern the same year as me. And he's like, just go on like eHarmony or something. Match.com's this new one. And I'm like, that is like for desperate people. And that's where you meet like serial killers that just cut you up and put you in the fridge. And if my parents found out that I met somebody on Match.com, they would be like, so-and-so did that and they left and their husband and they live down in West Virginia now. And so I was very skeptical of it.
Yeah.
And Patrick and I went out to an Irish bar of all places. We probably had one too many beers. And that night I came home and I got the credit card out and got on Match.com
Wow.
and found Karen. And literally I went on 2 dates, both Greek girls. And the first one, it was literally like a 20-minute date. She was drunk out of her mind. And I was like, this is not going to happen. So we cut that one short. And I was very skeptical to even go on a second date with anybody. Met Karen and the rest is history.
That's fantastic.
So
Yeah, that's a great story.
So you ready to turn the tables here?
I guess.
So honestly, I think asking the questions sometimes is harder than answering them because you know the answers, right? So
That's a good point.
Okay.
So Greg, it's okay if you come.
yeah.
I just had to put the plug in.
So, okay. We know you did an internal medicine residency.
Yeah.
And you kind of talked about some life events that occurred that I'd like to know more about, like the timing, like how long did you do internal medicine and like what was the epiphany for you to just be like, I'm done with this
Yeah.
and I'm going to do this? Because again, that was a bold move on your part. Probably a move that most people thought about doing, but 99% of the people didn't do it because they were scared.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Yeah, there's a lot that's a loaded question. First of all, and a lot of this goes back down to personality. So I've always been an ENTJ, if you know what that is. You're an extrovert, you're intuitive, you're a thinker, and you're judgmental. And it's
I did not know what that was. Say that again.
It's a very actionable profile. So this
What's
is a
the initials?
personality profile. And mine is ENTJ. So if you ever do one of those personality assessments, I forgot the formal name of those, but
Jay will put those letters out on the screen, probably like right here.
And it's very interesting. And going back to that, I told you I was going into undergrad as a psychology major. My mother had gone back to college and done psychology. So that was kind of, in my mind for a hot second until I went to college. And then I saw what it was about and it wasn't for me.
Sure.
But my personality meets the profile of a military general, a leader, just that whole extrovert, being intuitive. You're a decision maker. You're not slow with putting something into action. Those intuitive people, something's going to be right because you just have a feeling. And that's good in medicine too. It's actually a good trait in many ways. And you're a thinker instead of someone who goes on emotion. So if I run across anything, I'm going to use my brain and not my heart in many situations. That's important for medicine too. And I'm judgmental instead of a perceptive type person. So I will judge things and weigh them too, not being judgmental. Like I'm judging you, I'm not judging you. So don't ever think that. It's a whole different.
Kim's drinking a glass of wine on a Wednesday night.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, when is she on her second? I'm like, I've been holding off because I'm on camera.
Jay, you can pause
this is
it.
A fantastic wine.
And the next glass will be even better.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the way that I am made up, I don't do well with someone telling me what to do.
Amen.
And that's just me. And so, and I'm also very blessed because my husband's a physician. So I was able to take those chances. And I would work.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Right?
And
That's
so
maybe
you
took
do.
a little bit of the pressure off.
Yeah.
I'm not diminishing like the risk that you took, because that's still a risk, but like maybe that was a little bit of a security blanket.
Yeah, it's a security blanket. So I know if I fail, you know, and there were some, you know, other opportunities that I had too, where then I had to make a decision. And we all think about now as we're doctors, we didn't have a MBA, and doctors are notoriously bad at business because of that. But we need to change that. And I had to think of, okay, what is our greatest asset? We're at a point now where we can invest. Who knows what's going to happen with the stock market these days, or our economy, or so many things that are involved in that. What's our best asset? Ourselves.
Yeah.
And you need to invest in yourself. And in my opinion, you know, with what the knowledge we've acquired from all the education that we have, why not put that to use and help people with it? And it's okay if we just invest in our own business and do that. And you realize, and I don't think it's, as physicians, we're lucky because we have that degree and that expertise. So we always have something to offer to people, no matter what field you're working in. You've always got something to offer someone. And when it's your own business, you're going to work that much harder. It's going to be that much better quality because you're going to make sure it is, and you have control over that, unlike these bean counters that are running hospitals and insurance companies, and somehow insurance companies can own hospitals and all this weird stuff.
Talk about a conflict of interest. If I've ever heard of one, right?
It's terrible. Everyone knows it, but who has the money to give lobbies to politicians? So no one's looking at it. You know, all kinds
Before
of
I forget, do you Senator Michelle Brooks, do you know her at all? So she's Crawford County, Mercer County, and I think part of Lawrence County. So not Erie, but like
Close.
I met her last Friday. She is like speaking our language, which you're speaking my language.
I'd love to meet her
right now. Yeah. I'm going to try to get her on this podcast, but the political agendas out there and the way that things are played out, patients don't realize.
No.
And I just love like hearing you talk about this stuff, because I know who I am and like my personality traits, but I've never like understood the psychology behind it. But the things that you were saying, that's why I was like, can you repeat that? Because like, that's
we'll
me.
delve into this.
That's me.
Give you a personality test,
right?
Yeah,
I am. You said the Army general.
I think.
Right. I hate paralysis by analysis, right? Like
you got it.
You got to move.
You have to go on your intuition and make a decision.
Yes. Yep. And you know what? Not all your decisions and all my decisions are going to be the right ones. And we're going to make some mistakes. But like once that happens, it's like no big deal. You just like, okay, that didn't work.
As long as you learn from it.
You learn from it.
And you try.
Pivot. Yeah. And you figure a way around it. It's like, okay, that didn't work. I won't do that again.
Yeah. I'm always doing that in business too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's okay. You don't beat yourself up. You just say, hey, that's
because we don't have MBAs.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of do.
It is what it is.
Like,
now we do. I mean, we should get them.
Like, you know what? I'm going to give you an honorary MBA after this podcast.
I will give you one too. We're going to print those babies out. I have Canva. Does everyone have Canva?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we got this.
All right, you're on the diplomas. I've got some merchandise we'll work on too for this.
Yes, we got this. Yeah.
So kind of a second question that relates back to that first one though is, you know, you mentioned kind of the business side of things and not having the MBA and taking the risk and, you know, all of your personality traits. But what have been some of the hardest business decisions that you have learned along the way in the past several years? Oh, by the way, I didn't mean to cut you off because I don't think I heard the rest of your first answer. Like you kind of gave me a little bit of it, but like, what was there a moment that you were like, I'm just done with corporate medicine and being somebody's employee?
Well, I don't know. It's always interesting to see decision making in hospitals. There was a point in time as far as moving away from the hospital setting. I was always an independent contractor. I would never be an employee for anybody.
So you were never employed?
No.
Okay.
And I early on developed Mascia Medical LLC.
Okay.
and I would be an independent contractor. There's cons to that. I was able to do that because I didn't need the benefits. I didn't need the employee contracts and all the things that go along
Sure.
with that. So I had to do my own taxes, or we had our CPA do our taxes. So there are cons to that, but the pros are you can say, I am an independent contractor. You want me, I'm working these 2 days a week, and that's it. Because as a female in this field, it's very interesting. You have to give yourself breadth to grow and to do what you feel you need to do as a female. And I believe there are very real differences between men and women. And there is nothing wrong with the maternal instinct and raising your children and spending the time to do that and saying, that's okay, I'm going to give myself that. So yes, I had all this education, but my priority is raising these 3 human beings and doing the best I can to be there for them first. That's our number one job always and I think mostly as a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the roles reverse, but there is a true maternal instinct. And
the vast majority of the time it's the mom.
Absolutely.
Right?
And for anybody to say, no, this is all a wash and it's a societal, manifestation that there's a difference between men and women is ridiculous. And we're doing everybody a disservice to say that. So in women, I attend, as a woman, I attended a really important meeting while I was at UVA. We had a women's medical doctor group, and we had like older attendings and younger people and fellows and blah, blah, blah. We had people from everywhere. And I saw this overlying theme that the ones who went whole hog into their careers very early on, our cardiology girls, our surgeon girls, everything like that, a lot of those women had difficulty with balancing their lives and were not happy. And so they would be like, oh my gosh, I'm 40 now and didn't even have a kid or make time for my family. And what I learned is women's careers naturally peak in their 50s. And so my career has always been earlier on. I was an independent contractor, so I could still have autonomy and call my hours to be with my family and do what I had to do because Brett could not leave the hospital.
Right.
That was like we would have family events or something with the kids. He cannot leave the hospital. When he has to be there, they're so understaffed. He has to be there. Yeah. So no flexibility whatsoever. It built in his schedule. So I knew that was a no-go. So anyway, as the kids have gotten older, now I was able to take that business and then do a doing business as for Spago Med Spa and then do my own thing. But before it was fine working, a couple days a week while I was taking care of the kids. And, but you get to see the disaster that I call these hospital institutions, from, I was always in the doctor's lounge talking to other physicians about our patients and everything else. And it was always subpar equipment, subpar management. Now they've moved away from being community-based and more centralized for patient care, for even handling staff, HR, everything. It's a disaster. It's poorly run. When you have a medical degree and you're used to things need to be right or people are going to be mismanaged and possibly very much injured, and you see the way these hospitals are run, it's shocking. It's shocking. So there was a point where when I was in the hospital setting, I just said, I can't, I'm not. If you've now moved all of the administrative duties to me as a physician, and that's how you want to use my time for whatever I'm charging an hour because I'm an hourly rate. It doesn't even make sense. I'm not even going to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's just there's lack of support. There's now the physician is everything there. It's incredible. Well, and patient
what
care
I have found is like in that setting, and I've practiced in a couple different hospital settings. It's the almighty dollar, right?
It is.
And it's like, how can we do this cheaper? How can we get more money?
Yeah.
How can we gain revenue? And it's like, all those things are fine if the quality of care does not diminish and it improves. And if the patient experience is equal, if not better.
I'm glad you said patient experience.
But very rarely are either of those things occurring if the hospital's trying to cut costs, do it cheaper, outsource, and improve their profit margins.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the patient experience, which that's like whole health to its
Yes.
core.
Yeah.
The patient experience goes down. And
Absolutely.
I mean, since COVID too. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. There's an excuse for everything now. They're still using it as an excuse to not help people. Yeah. And the whole mismanagement of that, but that's a whole other side story. But
That's a podcast in and of itself.
Oh yeah. We could go there or not, but maybe we should. We should do that one day.
Yeah, that'll be like 2
my
bottles
gosh,
of
that
wine.
would be like, yeah. And I was climbing the walls during that time because those same people who own the hospitals and insurance companies, well, they know nothing about medicine, and they were able to run our national health and make some calls that were not evidence based.
Yeah.
And it's been a very interesting journey. So I told my husband, going back to our initial story, that I wanted to just try this out. I had been doing cosmetic injectables on the side for years, and it got a little uncomfortable because it was friends of friends of friends. And then I think I had one party that was like 9 people coming in at different times, talking, drinking, cats jumping on the counter, kids coming in, all that went against every rule that I had for any injectable party I ever had, where I just realized, okay, I need a home base and an office.
Yeah.
And started in a small place. And it's so easy. You just learn the laws of what comes in and what goes out, and start somewhere where the overhead's not high. You don't go build a Taj Mahal and put millions of dollars into a location until there's many reasons not to do that, but you need to start out, modestly and grow.
Yeah. Not living outside or practicing outside your means.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that kind of leads me into my next question, which is, I feel, and I'm sure you may agree with this, that as physicians, we take the Hippocratic Oath.
Yes.
But I almost feel like patients feel as though we take an oath of not. I'm trying to figure out the way to ask this without anybody being offended.
Yeah.
That we should never look at anything from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Right? That we should solely look at things from a patient care perspective, which
kind of we do anyway.
We do,
Yeah.
right? But when you own your own practice and you own your own business, and I feel like that's like the hospital administrators thing. They're like, you just be a doctor, right? You just like they try to talk you into it. Like, we'll worry about
we'll
all
take care of
this
the rest,
stuff.
but they don't take care of any of that.
You
anyway.
just take care of the patients. Do what you love. Do what you're good at. But there's all this shadiness going on behind closed doors. But I almost feel this not with all patients, but with a certain select subset of patients, where they almost feel like if we're trying to do something that's going to promote us from a business perspective or financially, that we're breaking some code of ethics of physicians. And
I've thought about that before, but I know, and you and I know, because we're physicians and we took that Hippocratic Oath, that I always believe that if you serve someone well and do the right thing, the money will come.
Yeah.
If you do what you love, you're treating people right, you are being honest, and you take care of them, everything's going to be fine, especially with our degree. And so, and I know what you mean. It's like that self-promotion thing. But I think when you're good at something like you are, you've got an incredible skill, to the intricate level, perioperative care, you care more about just the joint and replacement. You're not a machine like you would be in the hospital. You're caring about that whole holistic approach with pre and post-op, and then taking care of that individual. You're really caring about those patients and the community. If anyone says anything about you, I would say they're just not going to be your patient, and that's okay, because they really should be very proud of you, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Because we do have that as physicians. Physicians got a really bad name over COVID. There were a lot of lies. The government paid a lot of physicians to say things about that disease, and we did a lot of things to our communities that we never should have. So there's profound distrust of physicians now. Not only that, our policymakers are lying and saying that now we're prejudiced and we treat certain people different ways, which is absolutely not true of any doctor I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah.
And so the things that politically that's going on behind the back to undermine us is large, and that may be an attempt to undermine anybody who's educated, because if you're educated, you know that all of this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anything that's going on right now.
Well, the first thing you said, it's come up and it's been stated by myself or some of my other guests probably 7 or 8 times throughout this podcast series. And it was focus on the right goals, objectives, and reasons, like taking really good care of our patients.
Right.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
I treat every single one of my patients like they're my mom or my dad. And if you do that and you do it really well, the patients are going to see that and the rewards will come.
And I bet you've turned people away from your very expensive procedures because they weren't a good candidate.
Yeah. No, that's the one thing that patients
you're
don't
not
realize.
just saying, I'm just going to operate on you and take your money.
Yeah. So sometimes they were a candidate. They did have horrible hip or knee arthritis, but I didn't. It may have been a personality thing where they were not. A lot of times patients are just like, hey, you're the doctor. I'm the patient. I have bad hip arthritis. Fix it. And they're passive about it. I'm like, no, you need to be involved in this. Like this is a team effort.
Yeah.
I think patients sometimes don't realize how big of a piece of that team that they are, right? Yeah. Whether they're not going to listen to post-operative instructions and just be non-compliant, whether they're going to continue smoking, whether they're going to eat garbage after surgery, right? So like getting them to buy in, sometimes if I don't feel like they're buying in, I've turned several patients where I was just like, you know what? Yeah. You do need this operation, just not by me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this relationship is not gonna work.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the same thing I do in my business. I'm not out to just sell a package of something. I have to look at that person. And if you're not a candidate, or I don't think you're going to do post-treatment care the right way or something like that, we're not going to sell that to you. And that goes into, yes, I'm not selling for someone else, but I still have to treat you the right way. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where the money's going. Do you want it to go to a CFO who's in Hawaii? I don't know. Or do you want it to go to someone who's going to be reinvesting that into their business and making their business better?
Yeah.
And that's all I do. My husband still asks, hey, I think I have to give him a paycheck for our taxes. That's all he's requiring of me. But otherwise, it's going back into the business.
Same.
To take care of people.
Yep.
And so if I was doing this for personal gain, you'd see me in a jet somewhere, not in there practicing, working day in and day out to make sure everybody's doing okay and that we're providing good care.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I get a little misunderstood, and like what people don't realize is like what goes on behind the scenes.
No.
And like how much time, energy, effort, and then investment. And I'm talking all those things.
Everything.
But then the money.
Have to tell my husband, sit down.
Yeah.
I've got another idea.
Yeah. So everything that and Karen's very understanding of that.
Yeah.
She knows kind of my dreams, my goals, and she realizes just like how passionate I am about what I do.
Yeah. And that's the root of happiness.
It is.
You know,
you got to go to work, and I don't even like to call it work.
Yeah.
It's like recess for
me.
Me
too.
but,
I'm like, what am I? Yeah. I'm glad to get out of bed.
Yeah. So like 2 days ago, I was in office on Monday. Usually I'm in the OR on Mondays, and I was driving down. I just had a smile on my face. And, I'm just so like, cool. I'm getting to go to operate. I'm getting to go take care of people and be with people I enjoy. Like my staff, they're wonderful.
Such a blessing. Such a blessing.
When you do stuff with people that you enjoy and surround yourself with people that are having fun and you can laugh and you do great, amazing quality work, there's nothing better, in my opinion.
And that's rewarding for you. And no one's telling you to modify what you're doing.
Nope.
You get to choose.
Yeah. So I guess my last business question, right? Spago. Right?
Yeah.
So what has been like your biggest accomplishment, like personally, over the past several years since you opened that?
I feel like now we're at a point where I call us established. Oh, be careful. Sloppy drinking there. But I feel like now it's very nice. Our clients, I'll do my Instagram stuff and my Facebook and my Google and everything, but really none of our clients come in that way. All of our clients really are coming in by word of mouth. And that makes me feel very grateful. When I see someone, I want to make sure they're getting the best care. And it's turned into something where, now they know they can go to me if they're not happy somewhere else. And they know that their friend said, hey, try this place instead. And I feel like we give a good quality service and what I can produce because I love art. I like painting and everything like that. That's innate. You can't make a person an artist. You can't, make somebody who just learned injectables know what symmetry is or where to put things or whatever to make things turn out great. And there's just an innateness to it that now it's coming around because it's a word of mouth thing. And that's really how our business is growing. And that makes me feel happy too, and we've got a great environment too. Like you said, our employees, they make me really happy.
Yeah.
So I feel very grateful. HR is the last thing I want to do. And I've hired people I've had to let go. And really the only reason was because they weren't a team player with my staff. And my staff, I feel so grateful. They're all my friends. And I just, I can't thank them enough, really, for being a part of my team. And that's a lot. There's a lot to be said about that,
And that's one of your biggest investments, right?
Yeah.
Is your team. By far and away, my biggest
team.
expense every year is my employees. I have over 30 employees.
That's a lot.
Right?
That's
and then,
a lot.
You're doing healthcare benefits.
Yeah.
You're doing 401ks. I do profit sharing.
Yes. That's what we're moving into that now.
All that stuff. So it's a tremendous... And
but you're taking care of people and you're providing an amazing workplace for people.
Yeah, so that's another goal, right? It's not only an amazing place for patients, but it's an amazing workplace for our staff.
So how can someone complain to you with
they do
about employing? I can't imagine where are these people coming from.
And then they don't work there much longer.
No, and then and have you had to fire somebody?
Oh my goodness, Kim.
Ooh, yeah, it's hard.
I mean, so we started in 2018. And to me, I've come to this point. Like I have a zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Especially for
I like that.
everything that I do.
Yeah.
For our patients and for our employees.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just done with it. Right. I'm not gonna just fire people because they looked at me the wrong way. Absolutely not. But attitude, I will hire.
Attitude's huge.
Yeah. Right. I will hire a great attitude that has no skill or background because I can teach them the skill and the background stuff. Very good point. But and the interview process, I mean, really 20, 30 minutes, are you going to pick up on a bad attitude? Sometimes, but very
hard.
Rarely. And then it will start to show itself. So like the bad apple in the barrel will start to.
How do you do that? Do you give them like a transition period where you say, we're just going to see if you fit first?
Yeah. So what we've done, so I mean, these are like the learning.
It's hard. You got
Yeah. So we've kind of gotten to the point now where we have like a 90-day
I like that.
trial evaluation. It doesn't mean like you're fired after 90 days if we're not ecstatic with you. But I mean, I've had to probably let 10 to 12 people go.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work too.
It is.
Trying to train that many people.
Yeah. And it's like you get them trained and then they just start to go off the reservation and kind of do their own thing. And then they start to like infect the other good employees.
Yes, they do.
And then that becomes a big problem because then you don't just have one bad apple, you have one that's starting to become bad. And they're not inherently bad.
No.
And I don't mean that these people are bad people.
No, it's just tiny little things.
And they're just not a good fit for that particular, because they can go off to another work setting and be amazing. But like, for me, like we've created a culture and it has taken a ton of work to create the whole health culture. And I've hired a life coach that has come to our practice and has been with us. I've worked with her personally for 3 years.
You'll have to fill me in.
Allison Parplasha, you know her?
I follow her on Instagram and
amazing.
Okay.
So
great to bring on to your business. And
it's a big investment, but I brought her on a year and a couple months ago for the business. She comes in, she works with my staff every Wednesday.
Wow.
For several hours.
Wow.
And, I think people don't quite realize that it's not like she's just coming in doing this for the goodness, like out of the goodness of her own heart. Like she's a paid consultant. And
she comes in. You should be paid for your time and your expertise.
And she is. But like to me, that was an investment.
Yeah.
And because my staff is a massive part of who we are.
Absolutely.
We have a beautiful building.
Everything. Everything.
But I can't be there 24/7.
No.
Right? So it needs to just fit the culture. And she kind of helped us define the culture.
Yeah.
I knew what it was. I could explain it or like my feelings, but like she helped to like literally spell it out.
Yeah.
And come through. And we worked on job descriptions for everybody and just, this is what we're going to do. This is who we are.
Nice.
We had a mission statement that she helped me work on.
Love it.
And it's just like a zero tolerance. And that's just come to me in the past couple months where I'm just like,
Yeah,
No
it's
more.
hard. It's hard to define those boundaries. We had a girl that I wanted so much to keep her, and she had a lot of great creativity, and we gave her many chances and wearing many different hats. And the final straw was one day she's sitting in the office doing something else. You know, we all multitask, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't, but you can't avoid it. So I never say don't multitask. You have to. And so she's doing something else. One of my staff members was running around like a chicken with her head cut off. The phone rang. That girl was running upstairs to help someone else or get someone settled. And the girl didn't even answer the phone because she was doing her thing. And the whole staff.
Was it a work thing or was it like a Facebook thing?
Oh no, she was doing a work related thing,
Okay.
but next to the phone. And we've already established there that we all help each other with everything.
Yeah.
We pick up
You're
and
small,
make it work.
right?
It's
You
a
gotta-
machine.
Yep.
It's a small. Yeah. Everybody cross trains.
Yep.
Everyone's
Same
fully
thing.
trained. They're trained on the phone. They're trained on the computer.
You have a
Cross
primary
training's
job,
key.
but
Yeah.
you need to be able to step out of your lane when called upon.
Absolutely. All of our practitioners know how to use the computer, know how to wipe the floor if something bad happens. Like everyone cross trains. Yeah. And staff's running chickens with their heads cut off, and the girl didn't even pick up the phone. And that's when the staff told me, okay, we're ready.
Yeah.
And I had to make the move to
Do
fire
you have
her.
a leadership team?
No, I have a manager.
Okay.
But it's the manager and I have my employees have been with me since we opened essentially. And they're friends of mine, and anything that we talk about, I run by them because they all have incredible insight. One of my gals that she's always at the front desk, she's wonderful, but she's a marketing major. So she knows, okay,
She gets
Kim,
that.
this doesn't make sense or this isn't lining up. And I have one gal that always, she just finds, she's detail oriented. And she's like, Kim, you know, you got to fix this or that. And everyone's got a skill and it just meshes.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. I expect perfection when it comes to us taking care of our patients.
Sure.
But there's always going to be something going on in the background that we're always trying to strive to make better.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's just the way it is. We're always changing and evolving, and that's okay.
I tell
You
my
know?
staff all the time, I
Yeah.
say, hey, if I'm doing what I'm doing right now in 5 years, I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
Because I got to get better every
Yes,
day.
Every day we're trying to grow. How can we make this process better?
And
Yeah.
it is so frustrating
Yeah.
with some of the old dogs, new tricks. Like they just don't.
It's hard for them to
They're
change.
resistant. And I'm like,
Yes.
and I hate to do this, but I'm like, okay, this isn't a request. This isn't like a suggestion.
This is the way we roll.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
I've had to tell people that.
you get on the
Yeah.
train,
Yep.
or the train's leaving, and
You
you
got-
ain't on it.
You got it. It's
So-
and we have to move and change things as we see change needs to be put into place. And it's interesting how it evolves into your own thing. But yeah, and I've had my manager or staff come up and say, Kim, it's a lot when we make changes. And I'm like, you got to get used to it. You
Yeah.
have to. If we are stagnant, we're
Yeah,
not
I
serving
mean,
our
there's the one constant in life,
community.
and that's change.
yeah.
Right?
Yes,
People don't like it, but
yes,
it's
yes.
there's guarantees
Yeah.
that there's a few
Yeah.
taxes, death, and change.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
are always going to change.
Yeah, and that might prevent dementia. Who knows? I don't know.
I actually welcome change.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I'm a pretty habitual guy, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
even just like yesterday and today,
Mm-hmm.
I started cutting my patellas just a little differently.
I love that.
And it was just like trying to make it easier on me, my staff,
Mm-hmm.
and more efficient. So I was like, all right, why am I moving this out? And I figured out a way to do it on right patellas. I'm still figuring out how to do it on left patellas because I'm a right-handed surgeon. I hold the saw a certain way. It would not be super comfortable for me to hold it with my left hand. So, but I love problems, and I always say, where there's a problem, there's a solution.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to that as like an opportunity. So
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I tell my boys that all the time. They get so sick. I'm like,
I tell my kids that all the time, and that goes
The
back to
problem
the crux
solution
of
thing?
who we are.
yeah,
Right? We know we can find a
we
solution.
can fix it.
There are a lot of people that are wired where this is a problem and it stuns them.
Yeah.
It stops them in their tracks. And for me, that's exactly what I tell my kids. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a problem, there's a solution.
It may be a difficult solution.
It may
like
be.
you came in and
You
helped
gotta
Anthony
figure
with
it
the
out.
math, but I'm like, dude, it's math. there's one thing in
We're
life
gonna
that's
figure
like
it out.
pretty absolute. It's math. Like
Yeah.
2 and 2 will always be 4. I don't care
Yeah,
what
right,
continent.
right.
They may teach you how to do it differently.
Yep.
Like you were saying, like they
Yeah.
teach them a different way now.
Yeah, they do.
So
They do.
personal stuff.
Yeah, personal stuff.
So your kids, you have
Yes.
3 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't like to talk about this.
Oh
Like,
no, I don't
you okay
mind.
with it?
They don't want me talking about them. I'll talk about them every day.
So let's hear a little
Fine.
bit more about your 3 kids.
Yeah. So my oldest is Nathan. He's 19 now, and he's an aerospace engineer major at Penn State. It's his 2nd year.
Not very smart.
No, not at all. That came from father's side of the family, and Brett's whole side of the family are all engineers.
Okay.
Yeah, and teachers. The women are teachers. No, his cousins. He's got a cousin that's a physician, but yeah, a lot of engineers and teachers in his family too. So anyway, Nathan has always been hands-on, likes to build things, but very engineer wired. And so he's at Penn State having a great time. He's also a sailing instructor at the yacht club.
Very cool.
So he's been sailing his whole life. And he likes to play tennis. He was on the cross-country team at Penn State. He's on the sailing team too. So he was in just this past weekend competing against Barron and some of the other teams here. So yeah, so he's a really neat kid. He's like my Renaissance man.
What's his ultimate goal career-wise?
Somehow anything to do with flight and either engineering it or something. He is hands-on too. I feel like, he definitely has his own ideas. So he may one day be just developing something. I see him doing that.
Spacecraft.
Yeah. And he's great at computers too. So when he was at McDowell, and he was helping his computer science teacher develop classroom, I don't know if it was tests, but at least assignments for computer science. He's a computer engineering kind of guy. And he just loves making things, kind of like you, though. He likes making things, and it's neat. And at Penn State,
does he get some artistic stuff from you?
Yeah, he's very artistic, but he doesn't really do, he doesn't draw a lot or do that. But he's very creative in what he comes up with too. Yeah, so he'll make things, like he'll make gliders, and it's all different, or on computer. He does a lot of designing as a 3D printer. Yeah. Right. But his is like, it is. Yeah. And he'll do that. He's very good at programming, art, and things like that. He's a really cool kid. And he just got to do a glider at Penn State too, where they take you up in the plane and then drop you, and then you glide down.
Was it one that he designed?
Not yet.
It's like, all right, you're gonna be the first one to test this thing out.
Your plane, yeah, like, oh yeah. So, he's a lot of fun. Very mathematical though. And then Matthew's my middle. He's 17. He's at McDowell. He's in his senior year. He wants to go into medicine. We'll see how this plays out. He's very good at math, engineering, things like that. But that's what he wants to do right now. And he's a good golfer. He just hit over 300 in his drive with his new club yesterday. So he's really excited about that. And he's on the McDowell golf team. And he's a neat kid too. He's into all kinds of things. So we'll see where he ends up going with that. And then Elise is my 15-year-old daughter. And she is, she's also a very hard worker. And that's that whole thing, like you said, being a hard worker, and intelligence is very important, but you've got to have grit, and you've got to be a hard worker ever to succeed. I don't care what you're doing. There's hard work behind the scene if you're successful.
Yeah.
Unless something falls in your lap.
Well, that's like a gift, right? Like somebody, like your parents had this business and then they handed it to you. But
but you can ruin that really fast without grit.
Grit is one of my favorite words.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about the workhorse show horse thing, it was like, as much as I didn't necessarily want to be the show horse, but I wanted to be more than the workhorse.
Right.
But I love, because that was my dad. That was and my mom. The quality that they taught me more than anything was just like work. Just if
be
you
a hard
outwork
worker.
somebody,
you
can beat them, whether it's sports, whether it's academics, whether you may not have the most natural ability. And this is like to young people too.
Yeah.
Like I would love to go and speak to like a high school graduation class and just be like, guys, like I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
I wasn't the highest here or there. Like I was smart, but my intangible asset was grit.
Yes.
You work, don't give up, keep going, and just like never say never.
But as long as you're smart in the background and you have that grit, the grit is really what's going to make you successful.
Yeah.
And even you see a lot of people who get a business and then they ruin it because they never learned how to work for it.
Yeah.
And so that goes to kids too, is teaching your kids how to work, just like you said.
It's so much more rewarding.
Yeah.
When you reap the rewards and the accomplishments and then this
and it's fun.
And the oh my gosh.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Sit around and eat bonbons?
Yeah, no, I
go
love
drinking with friends every day? I don't know.
The process of building something, creating something.
Yeah.
And like I've always had this like David Goliath mentality too, because like again, being the small private practice, going up against the behemoths in this region, it's like
you're doing it pretty
hey
well.
guys, keep it coming.
You're doing it pretty well.
Bring it on.
You're doing it very well. And that's what I love too, is that model that you have. And it shows you what one doctor can do owning a business. And look what you've done in 4 years. Is it 4?
5 going on 6,
5 going on 6.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a lot of time to grow what you've grown. And, you know, it's outstanding, but you're working I know how hard you're working. I think about you. We're neighbors. We're like literally diagonally across each other. I'm like, Ryan's over there working.
Yeah. But again, it's just like,
But
how do we encourage these other young entrepreneurial physicians to not feel so like
stuck too? Right?
Yeah. Right. Like they almost feel like they have no option.
Right. Oh,
right?
they
Like,
do.
oh, I can't start a private practice. How the heck would I start a private practice? And quite honestly, I was not ready to start a private practice right
you
out
had a
of
young family.
residency or fellowship.
You took a big risk.
But I was 7, 8 years into my medical practice before I started my own practice, right? So I had little tastes of this or that. You
still took a big risk.
I did, and especially just like starting on my own.
Yeah, right? You have 3 young boys. You have to think about benefits.
But you know what, Kim? Like there was never once, and I'm not just saying this.
No,
not 1 ounce of doubt in my brain. That was like, this won't work. Right. I never had that. You can't have that. I was just like, and Karen was like, what? If it, like, this will succeed. I promise you.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep grinding, keep pounding.
Right.
And eventually I'll figure my way around those obstacles.
Yeah.
And we'll make it work.
And that's grit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you're not going to give up. Yeah. Which is great. And faith in yourself, and that's investing in yourself too, which is great.
Yeah. And that is like, I can't remember which podcast it was. We were talking about, I said, I don't gamble. I said, I have absolutely nothing against anyone that gambles, you know, but I don't get any enjoyment out of that. I don't go to Vegas and be like, oh, I'm going to put this on red or.
No, me either. No.
Right? I invest and I gamble on one thing. I don't even call it gambling. It's just investing myself, right? Because I can control that.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it's what I think, whether it's what I do, whether it's, and especially how I do it, right?
Yeah.
How I respond, the quality of product that we've created and deliver each and every day. So it's like, how could you not invest in that unless you're not willing to put the time in?
That's right. And you're bringing me back to what is happiness. And if someone's looking at you and saying, oh, he just wants to make money, you
Bullshit.
know that's not the root of that. You have your own business, you know that money is not the center of that. If you want to just make money, you'd actually go work for someone, get your paycheck, and walk away.
Exactly. And not have the headaches of all the other stuff.
Yeah. But it's not that. Happiness is serving your community, making a difference, and making something that you can just feel proud of. And autonomy works into happiness. And it's a whole different ball game, and money is not going to make you happy. It's nice to have money, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a nice comfort,
answer.
But it's not. It's not going to like you said. It's not going to make you happy. And quite honestly, I've seen quite the opposite. Like people that are searching for like, I want to make $1 million a year.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what happens when you make $1 million a year? Because then you're going to want to make $2 million a year.
Yeah.
And you're chasing.
Is this the goal you should be going for?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If that happens. Great, right? But how many houses, cars, yachts,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And I'm not, I like nice things.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
really-
But you and I both downsized
We
because
did.
there's beauty in simplicity too.
Yes. Like not having to go to
Yeah.
the lake house. I'm not saying that we won't have a second home someday.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not the right time in our life.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it's more important for me right now to be at my boys' games.
Yep.
And to be present.
Yes.
Here.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Not a distraction somewhere else.
Right. Right.
So another
And
personal
dealing with
question
that.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you and Brett, you're not empty nesters yet, but you've got to start to feel that
We are.
happening, right? What do you guys like to do together?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite moments together? Like for
Yeah.
Karen and I, it's traveling, just her and I.
Oh,
so
I love
what do you
that.
guys like to do?
Yeah, and so you mentioned traveling. So Brett is a pathologist and he's hospital based, and the way his group is organized is that they're chronically understaffed. So he has no flexibility to travel. So Brett is going to be working with me starting in March.
I'm so
And
excited.
he's leaving
for
his
Brett.
group, and he's
And you.
leaving hospital-based medicine.
Yeah.
And I told him at this point, you know, our kids are good. We did our investments, our 529s for their college. Everything's fine for all that. So I said, I don't care how much money I make. I'm a cancer survivor. We know the value of life. Our most valuable asset is the time we have here together. And how do we make the most of it? So I said, I don't care what happens as long as we can pay some of our bills. We don't do credit. We pay for what we own. And that's very important for autonomy too. And just, you know, everything, you know that.
I think mental health too, right?
Mental
It's
health,
just like,
everything.
I don't
Nothing's hanging out there.
Yeah, I don't like to have to knowing I
Yeah.
have to owe somebody something.
Never. And so we
Right.
don't owe any loans. We're free and clear. So I said, now's the time where we can live modestly or whatever happens, but come and join me. I don't care if you do tech support. I don't care what you do, but get out of that practice where they're not hiring another employee because everyone there wants to make money. And that happens.
Yeah.
Or people overextend, or physicians are notoriously bad with their money.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, he's coming to join me, and it's fantastic. So now we'll get to travel more, and we're going on a celebratory trip to Sedona as soon as he is done
have you
with our
been?
kids. Yes.
Okay.
But we've never been to the Enchantment. Which Vidrana in my office, you know Vidrana from the Orthodox Church.
Yeah. Do they own B-dubs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Did
They
they
love
tell you
that
about
place.
Enchantment, or did
They
Karen and I
did.
tell you?
Did you go too?
We saw them there.
Oh my gosh, that is the
this-
funniest
this
thing in the
spat-
world.
so
That
what's-
we're going finally.
Not
Because
Cornelius,
Brett will
Cornell?
be off for the kids' spring break. It's Cornell. You
Cornell.
got it.
So we're there this year, spring break time.
Yeah.
So all right, I got to rewind just a little bit. So Sedona. This is 3 years ago, October. Karen and I were looking for just like a getaway,
Yeah.
and she knows that I like to hike and this and that.
Yes.
So like she had done some research. She's like, we should go to Sedona. I was like, what do they have there?
Mm-hmm.
So we go and we stay at this one place. It was really cool, just her and I. And they weren't tree houses, but they were like up on stilts. They were
Ooh,
like individual
interesting.
little cabins, and it was nice, very nice, luxurious.
Yeah. Imagine.
Tons of great restaurants, tons of great hiking. I was like, oh, and I just felt. And I'm not like this one that's like, I love trees. I have a lot of trees for logos in my businesses, but I'm not this like.
It's surreal there, right? Is that what you're
I
getting
just,
at?
I just like the vortices. There's some energy
it's
there.
amazing.
I can't
there.
explain,
No, I'm with you.
but I just feel very grounded.
Yes.
Okay, so
it's gorgeous.
we're
too.
like, all right, this upcoming spring, let's
Yeah.
take the boys. So we went and we stayed at the Hilton the first day
Oh yeah.
at Bell Rock, and it was nice,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we were looking, and I can't remember if it was Karen or myself, and we're like, Enchantment. And on one of our hikes, there was this resort that I could see off to the left. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that? And it was
Yes.
off the beaten path. It was
Yes.
off. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I was on an airplane, and I see this ad. It's like top 5 destinations in the United States for
Oh, interesting. I
vacations.
didn't know that.
And it was like
Wow.
number 2. I'm seeing the same picture that I saw while I was hiking in Sedona from the same vantage point.
Wow,
I'm like,
that was a
I
sign.
saw that. I saw
That's
that.
a sign.
I'm like, Enchantment. And then, so I think I was the one that I was like, Karen, we got to go to the Enchantment.
Yeah.
So we looked it up. We made reservations, and we saw.
That is so funny. And she is one of my right hand people
Their
at
daughter
the
goes
office.
to Arizona State, right?
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Smart girl.
Yeah.
Just for choosing that. I'm like, Natalia, you did your research. But Vadrana works for me 1.5 days a week, and she's phenomenal there. But they love to travel, and Enchantment's one of their favorite places.
It is great.
And I know I love Arizona and Sedona. So that's what we're going to do.
When are you going?
We're going for spring break, and we actually
When
get to
is
spend
that
it with
break?
our kids. I hope you guys can join us. Oh my gosh.
No, so we booked. We're there.
When?
Spring break.
We're there from March 30th to April 6th. What?
Same week. Same week.
I can't believe this. We got to tell Vadrana and Cornell because maybe they can go.
Yeah. So we are actually going.
Oh my gosh.
We've never been to
I'm
Scottsdale.
I'm so excited.
So we're going
I love
to
Scottsdale.
On
We did that.
Thursday the 28th, maybe.
Okay,
Something
perfect.
like that.
Perfect.
We're going there till Sunday.
I
and
can't
then
believe
we
What are
come
the chances?
to the Enchantment for 5
Okay,
nights.
guys, I'm going to take an aside here and say that's Erie, Pennsylvania for you.
Yeah,
I have run
potentially-
into so many Erieites on vacation. It's not even funny. And I don't even vacation that much because Brett can't.
Well,
So-
he's about to.
Yeah, he's about to. And
gonna love
priorities.
Enchantment.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to love it even more that you're there.
Yeah.
Are you?
So I've already made dinner reservations.
Okay, tell me everything and we need to crash your party.
Yeah. We'll do this outside the podcast, but
Yes.
I figured out the places I'd love to go dinner wise because
Okay,
we've been there. This is our
we're going to
fourth
catch up
time.
after this.
For sure. We'll go upstairs and meet with
Yes,
Karen
yes,
for that.
yes, yes.
So I guess my last business question, I got a little
Yeah.
sidetracked, or was that my last? I think,
yeah,
personal.
priorities. We
No,
were
no, no.
talking about personal.
I got one more personal.
Oh boy.
question.
Okay.
So-
Okay.
And again,
I still get a veto. I got a veto on the Molly
You
cast.
mentioned your cancer story a
Yeah.
couple times.
No, I never mind talking about that.
Okay, because I would love
Yeah.
to hear it personally,
Yeah.
but and I know a little bit, but I don't know, and you don't have to go into depth, but like
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
It is a big
And you're
thing.
a cancer survivor,
Yeah.
and you're proud of it, and you should be proud of it.
Yeah.
But like, it's inspiring to me.
Well,
so,
it's not only that. A lot of people are secretive about their physical health and what's happened. But when I got cancer, I wanted to use a megaphone and tell all women to get checked and to be aggressive with their personal care because women tend to be the caretakers and not take care of their own personal health.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal and I'm always open about it. I had a lump that I knew was there. I had a mammogram that was negative, and that was like a November in 2015 or so. And then I waited. I felt it. I knew something was wrong. I waited, and I kept going. My mom had also gotten cancer at the same time. So
breast for her.
Well, no, hers was lung cancer.
Okay.
So she had lung cancer, and I was in daily. I don't have any anxiety, and I was in daily panic attack mode when my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and so that increased my cortisol levels. My immune system was shot, obviously, from that. And so then I got the lump later that I felt, but I didn't address it because I was taking care of my mom. I'm an only child. And so I was taking care of my mother and my grandmother, had to bring them up from Virginia, get my mother to close her business and do so many crazy. I mean, if I told you the story that led to my diagnosis, you would die. Like literally we bought her house in town and the woman died the day before closing.
Oh my gosh.
And just the things that happened. And like the doctor who was the hospitalist at St. Vincent, who was supposed to take care of her, actually went AWOL that night because he had a drug problem. And like, you cannot make up the journey during the taking care of her with small cell lung cancer that brought me to, who knows, the stress and bad genes mixed, which is, I believe, an environment and genes for sure. That's real. And my environment was a disaster because my cortisol levels were through the roof. And then I felt that lump, but didn't deal with it. Had the negative mammogram. I'm like, oh, this is fine. Taking care of mom. And then finally, when the kids went back to school, finally dealt with that. I think it was like, no, June, I felt the lump
What year
get
are we
bigger.
talking about?
We're like in 2015, June
Okay.
of 2015, negative mammogram, November of 2014, felt a lump in June, had to deal with mom, 3 kids, job, whatever, Brett never being able to take off. So no support there
Yeah.
because he had to work. And then when the kids went back to school in September, I went and got a biopsy, and it was triple negative breast cancer, which is the most aggressive cancer you can get, aside from the ones that are HER2 positive, that you can just catch early and treat it. So then, so it was crazy, and I thought I was going to die, and I was I was the only caretaker for my mom, and my grandmother. And so, I went in for my PET scan for my brain and thought this is going to be already in my brain given how long I sat on it and it being triple negative, which is very rapidly growing and spreads very easily. It's highly metastatic. And I was doing hospice on the side at that time. So my patients who died from breast cancer were triple negative usually. So it was crazy. It was very loaded. And that was another career change decision too, with the hospice and all of that. But and there was a point in time where my mother and I were in chemotherapy together. And one time when I was post chemotherapy, that I had to call a friend to take my mom to her chemotherapy.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But the journey, if you heard the whole story, you would just die. You wouldn't believe it. But that was the whole thing. How'd you
get through it? Like, what was your crutch?
God,
what did you lean
of
on?
course.
Okay.
And
love
anybody who undermines the power of God and the importance that God plays in our life. I mean, if you're at the very lowest level, and I'm a Catholic convert. I grew up as a Methodist, was always close to God. And as, I don't know if that's because I'm an only child or whatever, but I always prayed to God, and so I converted to Catholicism, before I married Brett. But I had never known how to pray the rosary, and I learned that as well. But when you even think about what Jesus gave for us, and I thought, geez, I'm like 41 and got died. Jesus died before, well before this,
almost like a decade before that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's God's will, and knowing, okay, well, if things don't go well, at least I'll get to see Jesus. Maybe one day, hopefully, I live my life well and get to see Him. But God is so important, and when I see society and how much we're diminishing God, it's sad to see. And God's there. God's real.
So refreshing to hear you talk about this so openly, because
and I'm a scientist. I'm an ENTJ. I'm a thinker and I'm a judger.
That's where I was going to go. Two physicians here, and Allison Parr-Plasha, my life coach, and I've always been very religious, very spiritual.
Yeah.
I'm Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And I was always I taught Sunday school, all this stuff. I love that. Right. But one of the biggest, most important things that Allison taught me recently, it's God, it's I, it's we, then Karen and I, then it's the family. Because oftentimes you skip one of these. You can't ever skip God. And the thing, and maybe you don't skip God, but the one thing that you and I probably skip more than anything is us individually.
Our personal health. Yeah.
And then you go, and then you probably even skip your marriage. You go straight to your kids.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, if you're not good, then you and your spouse are not good.
Yes.
How are your kids going to be good? So it's like, she really helped me navigate that.
Love that.
And because I felt so selfish if I was doing something for myself. And I don't mean like I bought myself a new pair of Jordans. That's not what I mean. It's like going for that walk at the peninsula, going and meditating, going and getting a massage, going to the doctor. I never went to the doctor. David Hutzel's my internal medicine doctor. First time I ever went to him was like a couple years ago, because I was 40 some years old and I feel like I needed to start going to the doctor.
I have to make Brett go.
Yeah. And we're notoriously really bad patients because we put everybody else's needs ahead of ours.
Yeah. 100%.
But I love the God piece.
God is so important. And if you take God away, who are you going to bow to? The government? And they want that in a socialist community. So there's a lot of move in the media to undermine the power of God and the existence of God. But there are so many arguments for God. Of course, we know. Yeah. And me as a hospice doctor too, I got to see people who were in between, and it's real.
Yeah. And you again, and me again, as scientists, as physicians, to like really understand the power of prayer.
Oh
Again,
my gosh,
I can't remember
yes.
what episode it was, but there was an episode podcast, but an episode in my life where I was operating on a patient. I had never in my life prayed so hard during this operation.
Wow.
And everything, all's well that ends well, right? And it was, I mean, I think it took 10 years off my life, like the amount of angst that I had during that case. It was the scariest moment in my life.
Yeah.
Second to
When
none.
something goes bad with someone else's
Right?
life.
Because I'm like, oh my gosh, this patient trusts me. And something just wasn't going well. And everything ended up fine. The patient is doing great. But I have one person to thank for that, God.
100%. And when are people going to wake up? There are studies that validate that, the power of prayer.
Yeah.
Why does that work? There are studies that validate it.
Hard to objectify it, but there's certain things in a scientist world where I don't need to objectify
No.
it. Right?
And we don't know everything. And you're the best person if you know you don't know everything. The people who think they know it all.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
To know, like, actually,
It's
the more I
okay.
learn, the more I realize I don't know.
And thank God you said that, because
Right.
anybody who says they know everything and know that there's no God and whatever they think they are, don't listen to those people, and certainly don't entrust them in your care.
Yeah. And you know what? If I offend you because we're talking about God, I don't care.
That's okay too.
Right.
And
don't
I
care.
am frankly okay with that too.
Yeah. Stop watching my
You're
podcast.
too good for me. It's okay. You're too good. You know too much. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. So this is great, Kim. I think it's time to let's by the way,
Plan our vacation.
plan a vacation. But we got a couple more things we got to do. By the way,
Yes,
couple more
okay.
things, couple fun things. Before we get to
That's right.
the seventh inning sawbone shoe stretch.
Yes.
Have you Archana Anand? You know Archana, right? Internal medicine doctor with Dave Hutzel.
I've met her before.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Her episode aired this morning, so it's a great. And I wanted to bring this up
gonna
when you were
watch it.
talking about women and especially
Yes.
like women that work outside the household, but like your first and foremost priority. And when I had my episode with her, I was like, how do you do it? And I was like, I don't want to sound stereotypical because
No.
there's going to be women out there like, oh, how dare you think that like our
Let 'em
primary
think that.
responsibility is to raise our kids. But
Right.
like there's a maternal instinct and kids
And
sense
it's real.
that's a lot more than. Now, granted, my
Oh.
boys love to come up and give me a hug when I get
It's
home.
so different.
But
it's so
they
different.
aren't coming to me if they have a problem,
No.
right? They're going to Karen.
No.
And so I
Yep.
respect
Oh, yeah.
you and Archana. Don't be offended, guys. That I respect you guys too. But like the working mother, especially a working physician, like the amount of
She's working hard. I hear her name every corner I
she's
turn.
amazing,
She's
as
amazing.
you are. But like, how do you do it? And she had some just like she likes to run and like she has good healthy outlets.
Good health care. She takes care of herself too.
Yeah.
But that goes when you say respect with a woman, if you are undermining the importance of a maternal instinct and taking care of your children and thinking that there's an issue with respect by mentioning that, that's where the problem is, right?
Exactly.
And our society is trying to train us to say that each of us don't have special roles, and we do, and that's what makes society work.
Well, I mean, let's be
And-
honest. Like babies come from their
Yes.
mom. Like it takes
They
a guy
do.
and a
I'm sorry, but
woman.
they do.
But like, I've never carried a
No.
baby. Never
No.
will.
No.
Right? Don't have the ability. So there's definitely that maternal instinct, that bond. Like again, not trying to get
And
too
you can
religious here,
cancel
but
us
like,
all you want, but we are scientists.
yeah.
And there's an X and Y chromosome.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like that was a
It's
special
a beautiful
bond
relationship.
that like no other father son.
And when
there's a
you
father-son
think of Mary
relationship, but-
losing her son and knowing the direction he's going from the beginning, it gives me chills.
It
It gives
does.
me chills. And it, as a mother, and if you're a mother, when I was pregnant and Nate was probably an embryo of one day, I knew I was pregnant and I knew who that baby was. Yeah, there is a maternal instinct and it's real, and anyone who undermines it is disrespecting women.
Yeah. And sometimes it's even
Profoundly.
women.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you're disrespecting a woman if you're undermining that relationship with your baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yep. Love
Shoe
it.
stretch.
Got a lot more to talk about. Shoe time.
Okay. So again, for those first time viewers, I like to break it up. We call it the seventh inning sawbone shoe stretch. I ask my guests to bring or wear a pair of their favorite shoes or a pair of meaningful shoes that have stories. And Kim, I have been blown away with previous episodes that this little fun idea, because I'm a shoe guy, it was just like, hey, I want to just talk about some Jordans, and people have some cool stories, but like some of the most powerful, like tear-jerking moments have come from this spot.
Oh, shoot. I don't know if I'm going to give you
one. You're going to let us down on this? Shoot. Fire away, Kim. What are you wearing there? What are you sporting?
So I was going through my shoes, and I have a whole history of Anthony, who did some minimally invasive surgery and did both of my bunions, which I am profoundly
Colonna,
grateful for. And Anthony knows I'm like, send him more customers than he can handle. So there's a lot of shoes that I'm very grateful that I can wear now, because of Anthony's surgery. And one of those, which is a really funny story, I was just in an event. I don't even know if I should say this, but I was wearing some shoes maybe from college that I always wanted to be able to wear, and now I wear them all the time.
Why can't you say that?
Well, I wore them at an event, and I lost like a sole for one of them because I have so many old shoes that I couldn't wear before my bunion surgery. So these
sole fell off?
Yeah, the sole fell off at the event.
Can you say the event?
And Brett saw me like Brett saw me kick it under the banquet table, and Brett's like, I think people saw you do that.
Did you go to the opposite shoe and just peel that one off and throw it under too?
Just like I was like, what is that hanging from my shoe? And
was
it was
a
like
thick sole?
Thin sole. And thank goodness the shoe, they were heels, and it still worked afterwards, but the sole freaking fell off because it was so old, and I was finally able to wear them.
Wow.
But they were old.
Yeah.
And I loved the shoes. Anyway.
So probably like the glue or something, just because they were so old, just kind of like dry rotted.
Oh, so old, like 20 years old shoes, 20-year-old shoes that I could never wear until I had my bunion surgery.
Thank you, Anthony.
Anthony Colonna, yeah. So these shoes I chose tonight because first of all, Ryan said it's casual night. And my casual go-to shoes have always been, now over the past couple of years, are these Olakai. And for the podcast, I learned how to pronounce them. But what I love about them, I'm going to take my shoes off, hold your nose. The heel flips in like this.
Ooh.
So they are beachy shoes too. They're waterproof. You can take the sole out and clean them in the wash.
Oh, wow.
And you can get them at Tommy Bahama's or any like boutique.
Can I see the name?
Yeah, it's Olakai. I've probably worn them so much you might not be able to see it, but you'll be able to see it on the little emblem there. And if you go to any boutique like Tommy Bahama's or anywhere in Florida, you're going to, now that you know them, you're going to see the flip-flops and the shoes everywhere. And
it's like one of those things. Once you see it, then you start noticing it.
Yeah, and I'm a practical person. Us, like people with grit, are also practical, and so they're comfortable. But every time I wear them, I get compliments too, which we love as
cute.
Women, because that's my women instinct. And they're like fun, comfortable, versatile, waterproof, and so that kind of, I was like, this kind of sums up my personality. I'm practical too, and like cool things that are versatile.
Love it.
So, yeah, those are my Olakais.
Rock the Olakai. I got to look into those. So, as always, wearing another pair of J's. These are the Air Jordan 4. These are the Palominos. These ones, I like earthy things, earth tone stuff, and it almost matches like what you're wearing.
Yes. I was going to say I could wear those today.
So, I always have to coordinate. So, I was like, all right, where do I start? Do I start with the shoes or do I start with the shirt?
I love your shirt.
And as soon as Kim walked in, she read my shirt, and you probably can't read it out there, but can you read it?
Yes, and I'll read it for you. It's some people want it to happen. Some people wish it would happen, and others make it happen. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, Ryan, that's you and me. And
do you know who wrote that?
And then I don't know the signature. Who wrote that? Oh my goodness.
Michael Jordan.
That's amazing.
So
yeah.
So that's the story here. Is like, well, I've got little earthy tan color. I've got several earthy tan Jordans, but I hadn't worn these yet. She asked me to. Is like, do you wear a different pair of shoes for every episode?
Yeah.
Go, well, yeah.
Yeah.
It gives myself and Karen an excuse. Well, not Karen. She didn't need an excuse, but my excuse for Karen.
Well, no.
That's why I have another pair of shoes coming once a week.
And your shoes are never going to smell.
No.
You've got something to rotate to, which is important for foot care. Wouldn't you say, to rotate shoes?
I would agree.
Tell my kids that all the time.
Yeah.
Don't wear the same thing every day.
And they're
Especially
comfy to me because I'm practical. Like Karen
Yeah,
just
they're
got her
very
first pair of
practical.
Jordans. She doesn't necessarily love the feel of them, but for me, these are super comfortable.
I like the suede.
Yeah, you know, it's
I
just
mean,
a little
it's
mixture.
sharp.
You've got the elephant print here, which is
Yes.
kind of what they started doing right around the Air Jordan 3. Actually, I'm sorry, I said the Air Jordan 4. These are Air Jordan 3s. That was a huge Air, not 4s.
I take it you like Jordan.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So you see the rest of the basement
I
here?
see it all. I see it all.
So
And I love that. And who doesn't? Matthew, my middle one, he loves playing basketball and he loves Jordan.
well, if you
and who
like
wouldn't?
basketball and you don't like Jordan, then
Something
you don't
wrong
like
with you.
basketball that well,
No.
or you're just a hater.
Right. And you're yeah.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a sharp pair of shoes, I have
Thank
to
you.
say. And I like the neutral colors too. And that
This
matches
is
my
the first time I
Olaplex.
actually wore
we
these,
really
but-
match. And I think when we go to the enchantment, we need to do this whole gig.
We'll
again. Maybe a
text
podcast
each other. That's a great idea.
Oh yeah, we
I
need
could
to
box this stuff
with
up.
the red rocks in the background.
Oh my gosh! So
we're
there's
done.
a little
We're in.
like rock.
Yeah.
that a boulder sits on top, and
Yeah.
there's a guy that goes up
We're,
there and
we're
plays
doing
a
this.
flute.
We're doing this.
I'm not going up there to play the flute.
No.
I'll film
No,
a
you won't.
podcast
Okay,
there.
we can
but
get someone too. We'll get someone too.
one of my boys.
I'm sure. Yes, we
So-
got this.
Before we go into the next or the conclusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we always kind of break away for what is probably the most fun part:
Really?
the Sawbones
that?
challenge. So,
Ooh. Uh-oh.
and I don't
didn't
even
about
know
this.
what
This
we're.
is, throw me a fast one. All right.
Yeah, so every episode we do the Sawbones challenge,
Okay.
and the first like 8, it was a 3-point basketball.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Don't worry, we're gonna change it up. Competition outside. Now that it's getting later in the season, it's getting darker earlier because
Yeah.
I've always started recording usually around 6, so it's gonna be dark outside. So then I did one in the basement here, Archie
Okay.
and I, which aired this morning. We did over on the Papa Shot over there. So we'll break away from the camera, but we're gonna come up with a challenge that'll be fun, that'll be unique, and then we'll be back to do our conclusion again. I just want to tell you guys, subscribe, share this with your friends. And, if you don't like us, that's fine. Because I'm not doing this for
Yeah, it's
any of that.
okay.
It's just like,
Yeah.
this is so fun. And just being genuine and hearing people's stories. Like right out of the gates, I learned more about you than I had known previously. And
Right.
like Mike Tomlin, where you're from. Like,
yeah. We
I've
never get to
sat
talk.
down to just talk to you for an hour and a half. So
And that's what life's about.
it's
It's
relationships.
connections and
right?
relationships. Absolutely.
And then when you have it all works itself out too, right? Because there's going to be people that I'm like, oh, you need to go see Kim for this or that.
Oh,
And-
I'm always
and
telling
vice
people, you
versa.
got to go see Molly if you're going to get a hip replacement. Or,
But now you know a little
my
bit
gosh,
more,
yes. And absolutely. But I knew that's what you were striving to do. I know you're always working behind the scenes to make the experience so much better for people. So it's just fantastic.
It's the Disney
Yeah.
or the enchantment.
Ooh,
experience.
Yes, I can't wait. I cannot believe you're going. That makes me a million times more. And that's because of the connection
Yeah.
and connecting with people. And so many things are trying to divide us now. And you just got to keep plugging away and
keep coming
connecting.
together, right?
Yep.
Sawbones
Absolutely.
Challenge coming up
Sawbones
next.
Challenge.
See you in a bit.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
There's a little bit of volume here. So Sawbones Challenge, Basement Edition 3.0. All the other challenges have been outside. We're doing Papa Shot again, just like we did for Dr. Archana Anand's episode. So the same rules apply. First one to 10. My guest is going to go first. So you shoot to the hoop of the left. I'll shoot to the one of the right.
I got my Olakai shoes, so this should work out okay.
Oh, she's grand. She's grand.
No.
Well, wait. We alternate. But I get a shot.
Can I grab another ball? Shoot at the same time? That
nothing.
is not fair, Molly. This is your house.
But there you go. See, you found it. You need to bank it. That was Arch's thing too. So 1-1.
Oh boy.
1-1.
All right.
She's a competitor.
Oh no!
Hey,
Shoot!
watch her
Start ruining
drywall
that.
here. Oh,
No, you're letting me win now.
No,
You're
I'm
being
not.
nice, Molly.
too competitive for that game. I'm a little disappointed. I keep
That's another
missing.
side story about that. You don't have to protect other people's feelings, and I'm okay. I won't be offended if you win. Oh, darn
2-1.
Oh, shoot.
Ball's
Ball
good.
wins.
It's
Ball
2-2.
wins. Oh,
3-2.
that one-handed, that's messed up.
3-2.
That means I know you're
3-2.
you're being nice.
Oh! 3-3.
Oh, stop it.
4-3.
It's getting
I gotta
heated.
dial it
The
up here.
crowd is roaring.
I actually like
Oh, shoot.
4-3.
No.
5-3.
Oh, one-handed again. That's bull.
5-3.
Shot. Okay, this is for real. Okay.
Almost put it in yours.
You gave it to me. Okay, I know this.
5-3. Oh, 5-4. She is making this a challenge, folks.
You
Oh!
gave that to me. I know
Oh
you did.
no, I did not.
No! Oh, whoa. Wait a minute. That was the
Oh.
Spanish alcohol speaking.
5-4. The Cleo. Oh. It's 5-5. Oh! What is going on?
The pressure's on. The
Kim, you
ball's
can't beat
rolling.
me.
The crowds. Oh boy.
6-5.
Oh gosh, no.
All right. 7. Oh! No, 6-5. You're winning.
How many we got?
We gotta go 10. I get the last shot because you shot first, but.
Shoot, you planned it that way. Okay.
Oh, nice. 8 to. What is it?
8 to
8 to 6?
Six?
Yeah, you're beating me by 2. Oh! I have not.
Ryan, you drank too much. You had like 3 of those glasses, didn't you? Didn't you?
2.5.
2.5? Okay.
9 to 6! You know what? I want you to win now. I didn't, but I do now. You've earned it.
No, wait, this is serious. I can't let it get to my head. That's that whole humble thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, fuck, I'm.
Ah, shoot!
Alright.
Shit.
Come on!
I can't believe they robbed you.
Seriously!
Call the police
It
on
was
that.
in!
Call the police. The Jordans weren't working.
Jay, we're gonna
That
count
wasn't
that
working.
one.
This wasn't working.
Game. No sense in even shooting. Game. Anyways, Sawbones challenge. By the way, Kim, get over here. Champion. So
Thank you. He
We'll
gave
catch
it
you
to
back.
me. I know he did.
we're gonna catch you back in a little bit for the conclusion. See you in a little
Hey
bit.
everybody, welcome back from the Sawbones Challenge. You know, we always try to wrap things up by just kind of talking about where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? Because you've got kids, right? Your oldest is a freshman or sophomore?
Sophomore now at Penn
sophomore.
State.
Yeah, he was a freshman last year. So now you've got 2 more. So you're probably doing some mental math. But in 5 to 10 years, where do you see you and Brett at?
My primary goal, and that goes along with happiness in life, is I want us to be the destination for your skincare needs, and also maybe your kind of like what you're doing, just your holistic needs as to feel fulfilled. So now we have Amy, who is an incredible, and when I say incredible, you've got to come and meet her.
She did my IV for me, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And I love her. And the fact that she's finding her space, and she's just an incredible person. And she's working on her doctorate in functional medicine. And just to serve our community, I hope that we just build with that and incorporate Brett. We have a very female-centric, I guess, audience, because we are a med spa, but there's so much we can do for men. And I'm hoping when we bring Brett in, we serve everybody, because men need self-care too.
They do. And Brett is, and I'm saying this completely heterosexually.
Yeah.
He's a good looking dude, right? So he's a good looking dude, but like he's going to come out like jacked and looking even better. And people are going to be like, Brett, I mean, I know retirement suits people well, but like, what's your secret? It's going to be like, Spago.
That is hilarious. And it's so funny. And Brett, he's one of those where you know how residency is. orthopedic surgery, this is a plug for Ryan. When I say orthopedic surgery is the hardest residency to get, it is. And you got to work your tail off to get
it is hard. To get through it is even harder. Like most people don't realize that. They think like you get there and then it's coasting.
Oh gosh, no.
It's so
no one
hierarchical.
Understands.
And like, I mean, there was a moment. There was a moment when I talked to my program director. I talked to my parents, my mom, who watches every episode. By the way, I think she's the first one to watch every episode. She texts me.
Oh my gosh, I've never met you. I want to meet your mom.
Oh, she's amazing. And she'll be like, Ryan, great episode this morning. As always, she's like, now I know. And the one text,
she knows.
She goes, now I know who's going to do my bunion surgery. It was right after Dr. Colonna's.
Anthony, yes.
So I was like, hey, that's where I send all my patients.
Yep.
He
You're always an advocate for Anthony, you know.
So like he will definitely be doing.
And I love that. And you have confidence in yourself that you can recommend other people for the right job.
Oh my God.
And
There's only two
we
things
are
I do that
all
I would
in this
recommend
together.
for.
Yeah.
Hips and knees. If you go anywhere else, you're crazy. No kidding. But
Yeah,
not
it's true.
really.
It's true.
So.
We're gonna get to that. Where were we at with this?
Where were we at with this?
Where were we? What were we talking about?
I'm still thinking about Enchantment Resort.
I know. Oh my gosh, we're so held up.
The 5 and 10 years, like where are you going to be? So you're talking about building like the regional.
The men's health aspect.
Yeah, mental health.
So there were so many things that I had because I did an allopathic pathway in medicine. I had preconceived notions about certain things. And there are so many things that we're learning functionally that are true. And I'm going to say it here today. There are things down to whatever heavy metals are in your diet, like zinc and selenium, that are very important. But men's health is very important. I was always concerned about testosterone replacement, something simple like that. And testosterone replacement builds bones. There is no evidence whatsoever that it would increase your risk of prostate cancer, which is one of my primary concerns, is weighing the benefits versus the risks.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And
so
people
I'm
make
hoping,
those assumptions, right?
Right. And so there's a lot of functional
cancer?
things.
Anything there?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you know, I encountered something with myself personally with estrogen replacement too. I went to Cleveland Clinic and they didn't want to replenish my estrogen. I'm menopausal. I'm 50, but I'm menopausal because of all the chemo that I had. And they didn't want to replace my estrogen because of the cancer risk. And had they delved a touch further into what the cancer risk is with estrogen replacement, they would realize that the receptor that estrogen replacement targets is actually anti-cancer and will not grow your estrogen related cancer. Mine was triple negative. So I had no receptors. So there's no risk whatsoever for me replenishing estrogen. So anyway, I went to a great local doctor, Dr. Hancock, who thank goodness is educated and knows the latest data on estrogen replacement in post-cancer patients. And that segues into how Erie is such a great place. You're not always going to get the greatest care out of town. Look to your Erie doctors, your Meadville doctors, people locally, because they've had the training they needed, but they care about your community more than someone out of town, maybe even Cleveland Clinic.
You know, I've never really looked at it that way when people always ask me, like, why did you build your practice in Meadville? Mm-hmm. Right? Like you live in Erie. Why wouldn't you're
serving your community?
Number one, they're like, why'd you move from Detroit? You're in a big metro.
Right.
And I was like, well, I was moving home. And they're like, but Meadville. I'm like, because I'm a community guy.
Yeah, you
right?
are.
Like that's where I was born. That's where I was raised. And I want to be able to
care about that community.
I do. I mean, that's like my dad taught there for 30 some years. That's huge. My whole family's community people.
That means he knows everybody that grew up in that community.
Yeah, they probably had him as a teacher.
Yeah,
but I mean, we grew up outside of Meadville. My dad and my mom have been lifelong members of the Townville community and all the community events. Like my dad started the community Townville Old Home Days like 53 or 54 years ago. He was the guy. He was the chairperson. He's been the chairperson for 54 years
That's
or however many
incredible.
years.
That's incredible.
He founded the local volunteer ambulance department. They did not have an ambulance
Oh my god!
before my dad and his colleagues started it.
And what a community-centric background you have.
It's all volunteer too, right? Not one. He was the treasurer for the volunteer ambulance service up until last year. For
what an example he
years.
set for you.
So, like, if I can't give and do for my community,
Right.
and I'm just going to give a real quick plug to our nonprofit that Travis and I, that golf outing.
Yes,
But that's just our fundraiser. But
I love that you do that.
The nonprofit organization isn't about doing golf or playing golf. It's about raising funds so that we can give less fortunate families.
Yeah,
And our events have all been holiday, Christmas-oriented events.
they're wonderful.
This will be our 4th annual, where we've fed well over 300 families each and every year, given away over 350 stockings each and every year to
That's
kids.
incredible.
A dozen bicycles last year,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
we did 300 some family gift baskets with like board games, Scrabble, Monopoly, this, that. It was just like not going to give you technology. And then the basic necessities to the kids in their stockings, which like kids, we'll give them something fun, but like toothbrushes.
Oh yeah,
Just like things.
I'll take a free toothbrush.
Yeah. And
Right?
like
You want
things
yeah.
like promoting self-health. So, but Kim, it's been awesome
It's been amazing.
having you on here. You live right next door.
Oh my
You
gosh,
and I
I
were talking
know.
kind of offline that we need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Brett, yourself, Karen, and I need to get out to dinner.
Yes, we do.
And looking
Yeah.
forward to our time in Sedona
I am too. I cannot wait.
and Chapman.
I
That's going to be
cannot
awesome.
wait.
So for our viewers out there, if they want to get in touch with you and see your services, what you have to offer,
Yeah.
how would they get in touch with you?
It's so easy. So what we do is we have a phone number that you can text or call because people are at work busy trying to multitask, as we all are. So it's just, you just call 814-860-4995 and you can text to, I have a website, spagoerie.com. If you need to look there to get our phone number, it's fine. But we have the best staff ever. We are non-judgmental, even though I'm a judger.
Different
by
type
my
of judger,
personality
right?
type. It's
Yeah.
different. I'm weighing things, benefits versus risk and all that good stuff. But anyway, yeah, we're, ask us anything. It doesn't matter. We're here to serve the community. And that's kind of what you do too.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. And that's why we went out to be independent, because if you have something based in Pittsburgh, you may not be serving the Erie community or the Meadville community. Or I know a lot of people that travel to see you, a ton of people. They're like, I'm seeing Dr. Molly. I'm going to Meadville for my surgery because he's the best. And it's because he owns his own business, so he is solely responsible for the care he provides. And that's what we aim to do too. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's your reputation
I
on the
love
line.
it. Your
It's-
reputation's on the line for your business.
And who you are, Kim Mascia, who I am, Ryan Molly,
Yep.
how our parents raised us. So
yeah.
thank you again.
Yeah, that was the best.
This is awesome.
So much
Thank
fun.
you guys for tuning in.
Yeah,
Again,
thank
make
you.
sure to subscribe, make sure to share, hang in there, and thanks again.
Well, I have loved some fishing in the outdoors where I'm free. It's where I spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got this pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.